Welcome back to the Laravel Creator Series. Today I'm joined by Simon Hamp, who is the creator of Laradir and Native PHP. And for this episode, we want to talk to Simon about Native PHP, what it is, why it's important, and just sort of, learn more about the project. So Simon, did I do the introduction right? Did I miss anything important there?
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Love it. So just to jump right in, tell me why someone would need Native PHP. Why do they need to use this?
Wow. That's me. I'm going to be really bad now. I'm going to say I don't think anyone needs Native PHP. But I'd like to think that a lot of people would use it because they don't necessarily want to go and learn some other technology. So if you think about how you go about building native applications right now, it's a wide array of technologies that you would need to use if you wanted to support every platform. And a few years ago, a tool called Electron came out, which enabled people to kind of just create a web application and distribute that to all the different platforms. And that's kind of enough. Like if you know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you can build really rich applications just with that on its own. But there's this thing that tickles me, which I love using PHP for things. I probably love using Laravel to build things. And it dawned on me that it would be great as a paradigm to build a desktop application using PHP and to be able to distribute it without the person requiring PHP on their machine. And I kind of just went down that path to see, is this even possible? And obviously I bumped into stuff that other people, giants in the community, have done stuff before me, particularly Marcel Pociot, who's done loads of work around trying to make distributable applications with PHP. So yeah, it was just let's see what's possible. And I think quite a few people like the idea of using PHP to build native applications. So
I love it. So for those maybe like me that are not from that background at all, I've never built a native app. The word native, I know you mentioned desktop. Does that also mean native, meaning it could be an iOS app or a mobile app, or is it basically strictly for more like desktop traditional apps?
Right now, it will only really work for a desktop application. That's more of a limitation of what Electron is capable of, because Electron is what we're using to kind of ship the main UI of the app. But in principle, and I hope in the near future in practice, we'll be able to run PHP on mobile devices as well. In theory, there's nothing really stopping that. A few people have put some demos together in the past and proven that you can run, a build of PHP on an iPhone, for example. Especially now that Apple have kind of unified their CPUs across their entire set of hardware. That's made that a lot easier because you build something for a modern day Mac, it's basically going to work on an iPhone. But there are a few other challenges to get past before something can actually work on a phone. But I think those are more philosophical and political ones than technical ones. But yeah, that's where we're at.
That's awesome. And then kind of to piggyback on that, again, coming from somebody that's never built a native app, so is sort of knowing a little bit about Electron like a prerequisite to jumping into native PHP, or is that just sort of we don't need to know anything about that and we can just write the code like we normally would, just follow the README, things like that?
Yeah, I would say the goal of native PHP is to make it so you don't have to know about Electron at all. I mean, when I kind of started putting some prototypes together, I was actually using another tool called Tauri, which is kind of a competitor to Electron. It does things in a slightly different way. And in the eyes of many people, Tauri is a better solution. And the idea is that, native PHP you could use either of those. Like you could use whichever one makes the most sense. And so from that perspective, the less you need to know about each one of those particular tools, the better. And that's kind of where we're aiming for, is like you don't really think about the environment that the application is running in. You just think, I'm writing, a Laravel application, and I'm thinking about it as if it was like a client server application, but I just know that in the end I'm going to ship this to one machine and it's going to just run on that person's device. And yeah, hopefully then you basically don't have to learn Electron or Tauri or anything else.
Gotcha. That's pretty sweet. And just from like coming from a Laravel developer, it's pretty much standard, right? It's sort of a standard Laravel app, just with special stuff that you kind of take care of. Am I thinking about that in the right terms there?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously steps that you have to take. I mean, if you're going to use Electron or you're going to use Tauri, there's going to be different things that need to be done to kind of make things work with that environment. But we're sort of smoothing over the cracks and trying to make all of that just really, really easy. And, you just type a few basic commands into the command line and it's doing the work for you. So yeah, the goal there again is just keep making that developer experience really, really smooth and obvious, hopefully, and just very, very convenient. So you could even get to a point where you're switching like the tools that you're using and you're not even noticing, but you're benefiting from whatever you want to benefit from that, other tool that you want to use. So yeah, that's kind of where I'd like it to get to. Obviously, there's a bit of a way to go, but
yeah. So yeah, speaking of that, I mean, I think the documentation says it's still in alpha, or did we just release the first beta?
Yeah, it's still in alpha.
I know it's pretty early, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of ETA or anything like that when you think it's going to be, I guess, fully stable, maybe?
Yeah, I would say right now it's been quite stable for a while. Like, there's not been any major new issues. A lot of the previous issues that we've had since, Marcel announced it last year at Laracon US, and obviously loads of people got really excited about it. We got loads of issues, and for a long time I was just kind of sat on this pile of issues and not knowing what to do for the best because there was just so much stuff. But earlier this year I managed to work through a lot of those because they were mostly around like, this doesn't work on Windows. Well, now it works on Windows, so kind of managed to get through a lot of that. And as I say, there's not been much more issues to like fight through, so it's quite stable. But I think there are still areas that are needed to make it really like production ready. And I'd kind of got in the back of my mind that a beta would come when I'm confident that we can get code shipped in like production builds. So there's a process in Electron, for example, where you publish the app and it kind of does a non-debug build, and you can then distribute it to the different devices that you want to distribute your app to. And that we would basically have run through that process at least once and had like the apps signed so that people don't get warnings when they try and open it, or that they can actually open and run the application. So that's like the yardstick at the moment for like, if I can get past that, then I think I'm happy to just flip the switch and say, yeah, this is beta now.
I got you. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and one of the, I mean, you talked about like when it was first launched. Yeah, it sort of took the PHP world by storm, because like it seemed like everybody was talking about it. It was like one of the biggest probably launches. I guess that was last year. Yeah. And the original launch, you were Mac only, but recently, like in the last month or two, you've added Windows support. So now you support both platforms.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly when it was, but yeah, I mean, I've been looking at working on the Windows build for a while, and it's just the underlying technology that we're using, which it is just PHP, but the way that PHP has been packaged up, nobody's really tackled doing this on Windows before. Like most of the PHP world probably use Linux or Mac, whether it's development, but certainly in production, it's predominantly Linux. So Windows has just kind of been left behind as this like gammy, little thing that's hanging off the edge of the PHP community. As I don't mean to offend anybody with that, but it's just it's a bit of an afterthought, and it's taken a while, but it is there, and I think it's quite stable as well. I mean, I don't use Windows day to day, so I don't really know, but that's another thing. It's just like having people building apps and getting it out there and trying it on all the different platforms, and then that level of confidence in it as a tool to be able to produce cross-platform apps is just going to increase. So hopefully, everyone's still excited about it.
For sure, I think so. Like even the Windows announcement seemed like it was it seemed like that was pretty popular. At least on the Laravel news site, when we covered the news item, it seemed like it got a lot of visits and a lot of traction. So seems like people are still very excited about it. Which leads me to like, is anything actually out? That maybe somebody could go and look at, be like, hey, this is built on native PHP, or because it's still in more of alpha stage, they're not really out there, but people are kind of working on it.
I know of a lot of projects that are on the go, and I know of quite a few projects. I would guess at this stage they're kind of on pause. They're just kind of waiting for us to say, yeah, this is ready. Like you can build production apps with this now.
Right.
I would really like for anybody, multiple people, to really push the boundaries there and just try and build a production-ready application, get it out there, and kind of find the problems and like report those issues, and then I can start kind of fixing that stuff and getting it even more ready. So there's none that I can like really point to as a specific example at this stage. I've worked on a couple of projects. So there's one that's just a very simple tool that people can check out. It's fully open source and it's on GitHub. It's called Chronicle. That it was meant as a demo app of what can be done, using things like the scheduler and notifications and what have you.
Awesome. Yeah. I was going to say, we'll definitely put that in the show notes too, so that way people can check it out, right from here.
And I've been trying to collect more projects. So there's awesome native PHP repository, which we created to kind of give people an opportunity to go and add their own to the list. And there's quite a few like open source projects that have been listed on there, which is cool. But again, as I say, like, there's not any that I would go, this is a really cool, like production ready distributed app that people like going at really hard, like pushing it out there. So yeah, we'll just have to wait a little bit longer for.
I know it's on GitHub and it's open source. I assume you're looking for people to come in and help and submit pull requests, issues, things like that. Is it are you at the point where you're trying to get a lot more community involvement into it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of community involvement right at the very beginning when there was a lot of interest around the initial announcement and a bit of follow-up when the Windows announcement came through. I think because we've kept it in that like alpha phase, my guess is that that's kind of kept people away a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely encourage folks to get involved. There's a load of people on a Discord channel that we've got. So there's about 800 of us now on there, with quite a few that kind of come on regularly and share tidbits and questions and helping others out with answers. There's quite a lot of stuff going on GitHub normally. So yeah, wherever you feel like most comfortable getting involved with, is just discussing stuff or raising issues or helping answering questions. Definitely with code as well. Like I appreciate this is quite a niche area and it's complicated because of all the different parts. But if you feel up to the challenge and you want to like dive in, I'm happy to like jump on calls with people and give you a rundown of like what I'm thinking and how you can get set up so that you can develop and that kind of thing. I'm not just leaving it to a contributors file, and there you go, try your best. I'll definitely lend a hand. If it helps people get up to a point where they can help me with it, then yeah, let's go.
Love it. That's sort of in the early startup stuff, getting people out there, getting them involved. So how are you finding? This is kind of off topic from native PHP itself, but how are you finding Discourse for like running the community behind it?
Do you mean Discord?
Discord. Sorry, yeah.
I don't like Discord.
I don't either, to be honest with you.
I'm not a fan of using it in this context. Like it's very much like a gamer community, and very it feels like that. There's a lot of bits of the UI that just don't make sense for what we're trying to use it for. I think it's fine because it's free, and a lot of people have got it installed. People will go, oh yeah, Discord, I can join that in a couple of seconds. I've already got an account, blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm not a particularly big fan of using that for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I might be showing my age, but I really do miss just old-fashioned forums. It's like you could search them, you could find stuff. It's just easy.
Yeah.
But that's funny. Anything else you want to tell us about native PHP that that maybe you're excited about, or anything that I didn't ask about that you think is super important?
It's hard to say because there are so many things that I'm excited about. And the first question that you asked about whether people should use it, or why should somebody use it to build native applications? I think in a couple of years from now, this will be a really accepted approach to building like a good production level, really robust, I'll say native application across desktop and mobile. And there's just so much stuff that will come along the way that's going to be so interesting for like the whole space of like people trying to do distributable PHP applications, whichever way you want to do that. A lot of that's already happening. As I say, some of it's to come. Like, even if you don't want to use Electron or Tauri or whatever else, and you don't want to ship an app full of PHP code onto people's devices, there's just going to be so many cool things that come out of this that are going to be beneficial for, like, if you're building a hosting service, or if you want to securely distribute some PHP app so that customers of yours can self-host it safely and performatively, without too much headache on your part, or having to create and manage Docker containers and all of that kind of stuff. It's just like the potential from some of this tech is like quite wide. It's got quite wide appeal.
Yeah, in a past lifetime, I worked at a motorcycle dealership, selling motorcycles, and
Cool.
One of the apps that we spent a ton of money on was this app that was in the store and would let you like browse the different motorcycles. And This was back in early 2000s when it was not like on the web yet. And I just keep coming back to things like that, or even like like even the little toolbars that sort of became really popular now in the tech space. Where you can like hook in with like the Forge API, or things like that, and see what all servers you have running, or see if something like that. Yeah. I just think, like you said, the use cases of this is huge. So many different possibilities.
Yeah, taking it to a very specific example, I do kind of have this vision in my mind of being able to build using a single code base, which is always that dream that's never been fully realized, but an application that works just in the browser, on the web, like traditional client to server paradigm. But then, you just install a package and run a command, and then all of a sudden you get Windows, Linux, Mac, iPhone, Android builds, and you just install it and it just works. Like many people would say, yeah, we have that with the web, and it's kind of true, we do, but if that it has limitations, you know, the technology's still kind of very nascent, but distributing native applications is still like a widely respected way to do a really rich experience on each user's platform and device. And I think the web has got such phenomenal technology already available to it that if we can just like cross that divide of it's not just a PWA, but it's also not a full-blown native application. With this, you know, I think native PHP kind of does sit right in the middle there. You could see it being that. Yeah, maybe I'm getting too like hopeful, but I think that's where it could end up.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if you look, you know, sort of the history of tech on even the last 5 years, I don't think, like, just how fast things progress. I mean, I don't think 5 years ago nobody even thought about like ChatGPT or OpenAI or anything, and then boom, now it's just everywhere. So I feel like as things, you know, keep progressing, all this should get easier and easier, and at least that's my pipe dream.
Yeah, it would be nice if it keeps getting easier.
Yes. Well, you could. So now your other project, Laradir. Do I pronounce that the way you pronounce it?
Yeah, that is the way that I pronounce it. I've heard people say it lots of other ways as well, so that's fine.
Yeah. So it's at its core, it's a directory of Laravel developers that are looking for jobs or just wanting to be listed and have profiles.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the majority that have created a profile probably are looking for jobs. But, you know, the place, the point of having the place there is just to say, like, there are loads of us. Because one of the things that I faced up against a few years ago in my previous kind of full-time employment role was, you know, are there even enough Laravel developers out there for us to justify using this technology? And I was like there with my boss, like, yes, look, I'll show you them. They're all on Twitter. You know, he's like, so who are these people on Twitter? They're not real people. And it's like, yeah, but I know that they are. I need to prove to you that. And I just think I want to like help the Laravel community at large by showing that there are thousands and thousands of us. We know that there are, but sometimes they're just like numbers, you know, newsletter subscribers, Twitter followers, video watchers, but they're not. There's thousands of really, really interesting people in this community, and they've all got really interesting histories and backgrounds, like why they're in Laravel now, why they enjoy that so much. And yeah, I mean, it's maybe not quite that yet, but I think that Laradir could be a platform to give every one of those individuals a voice, you know?
Yeah, I like that. You need to, this is totally off the wall. You need a way to integrate it with in-person events. So when we're at Laracon and we meet everybody, we have a way of being like, oh yeah, I met that person, and then here's all their data, and here, or not data, but here's all their social media, and here's all their, all their picture and all that. Here's their name. But yeah, because that was always what I was dreaming about, was like some sort of personal CRM where I could just keep up with people I meet at conferences. It's like, you know, because you get there, there's like 500 people, and it's like, oh yeah, I can't remember half these people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying. The challenge with stuff like that is, it's great when it's for the community and for people in the community, but it's hard to get those individuals to part with cash, you know, like I want to make a business out of this, and I don't mind saying that out loud, because, you know, I think that's legitimately a fair thing to be able to do. But in order to do that, you know, I'm trying lots of different things to find ways to make that into something that, you know, earns its keep and can keep on going. Like, the main thing is to just keep it going. I don't want it even to be like my main source of income or like massive, you know. It just needs to cover its costs and keep being useful to people. So yeah, at the moment I'm kind of toying with the idea of like, do I just make all of the profiles publicly, you know, like right now they're sort of hidden, you know, you have to log in and you have to unlock profiles. But maybe something like that would.
You could build a native PHP app and then the people that are looking to hire could pay you to go in and search for people.
Yeah. But I do like the idea of using it for events. I've heard of people already like saying, "Oh, here's my Laradir profile page," and just giving out their links, which is kind of obscure because I use like a UUID in the URL and stuff like that to make it a little bit tricky to find people, which is sort of weird. But I think I'll be open to respecting what the community wants and not trying to force what I want out of it.
Yes, for sure. And two, I mean, that's the good thing about doing stuff like this, just speaking about stuff off the cuff, if anybody has any ideas, I'm sure Simon's welcome to hear them. Shoot them his way.
Absolutely. I mean, the more the merrier. Like at the moment, it feels like trying to get blood out of a stone sometimes, getting ideas and feedback from people. But yeah.
Yes. I'm actually the same on the Laravel news side. It's I used to ask for feedback all the time, would never get anything, and then I just stopped asking, and then every once in a while somebody will be like, "This is what you should do," and then I'll be like, that's a pretty good idea. I'll try to do that. Yeah. And then I'll put it on the back burner because I got like 50,000 other things to do. But
I know it's impossible. Oh.
It is. But that's
should
great.
Talk more about that, like sharing those problems. Like it's not even the technical challenges, but just like how do you think about building a product that's varied and complicated and has a sizable audience, and like managing all of that when you're also running a business. I know that's what you're doing, and you haven't got like a huge team of people working with you or for you, so it's like you just need that little bit of support. So it's like, come on, Eric, you've got this. You can do it. This is what you've got to focus on. Yeah,
exactly. Yes. Yeah. And it never, when you are running a business, it's like, when you start when you go full time in your business, you're like, I'm going to have all this time to do all the stuff I want. And then it's like instantly you're way in the weeds on all the business stuff and not doing anything that you love to do in the first place. And I think that's like the most businesses when they first start out are running that same, scenario. But it is hard. It's fun though, as long as you enjoy the business side.
Yeah. You're full time on Laravel News now, aren't you?
Yes. Started, I guess it's been almost a year now. So it's
congrats.
Yeah. So we've been doing it, and I got Paul still writing, and then Jacob and Michael Dorinda doing the podcast. Yeah. So and then I do all the business side and sales and all the other fun stuff that probably nobody really likes to do.
I love the way you said fun stuff. Like
yes, I do enjoy it, which is probably why it's good that I'm doing this in this situation. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm super excited. Going back to native PHP, like I think there's definitely something there in the future. It'd be super great, for, I know you mentioned Marcel earlier, like if you could build your own, I don't know, herd or, anything like that, in the future, you'd be like, oh, I have this great idea for this thing. And then since you're already a Laravel developer, you just like, boom, I can develop it and deploy it in a week and be good to go.
I mean, I think if we can get the mobile side cracked, which I honestly don't believe we're that far away from, but if we could do that, I think that would be the killer. I think that's what would get everybody excited, because everybody knows everyone is on their phones like all of the time. I don't have the stats, but it's just like, you look at your web traffic and you know that the majority of people are coming from their phone. And that's holding true for almost every single website, that's out there. So you just know that if you can get something that's like more permanently on people's devices, it's in front of them, it's like notifying them, all of that stuff. If that's what you're trying to do, is get your product or your platform or whatever in front of people all the time, wherever they are, then it's got to be on mobile. And I think once we can get that sorted, then native PHP will just like explode, but maybe my head will explode as well before then.
Well, you never know. I mean, if it explodes, you'll have a whole lot more people helping out and keeping things in order. Yeah. Hopefully. Oh, this is great. Well, anything else you want to add? That maybe we missed during this conversation or anything?
I mean, I would say, I want to say a huge thank you to Marcel, because he reached out and sort of showed not just interest in what I was kind of playing around with whenever it was the end of 2022. He offered to get involved, and he did a huge amount of work leading up to Laracon to get native PHP into the shape that it's in. He was kind of very, what's the right word? I can't think of the word, my brain's going flat. But he was just very helpful in getting a lot of the thinking done, and then strategically, but then also like hands-on with getting a lot of the Electron stuff. I've never used Electron before, so I can't like say thank you to him enough for just kind of running with that baton for that time. And it's really it's made it exciting for me and for a lot of other people. And then obviously he did the talk on Laracon US about it. I think he was originally going to talk about AI, and because that was like all hot topic last year at the time. And then he messaged me and he said, I'm talking to Taylor about potentially changing my talk topic to native PHP. And I was just like, because it was crazy. So thank you, Marcel. You've been a really good support.
That's awesome. Yeah, Marcel's great. Marcel, Sebastian, that whole crew over there. And like you said, it really shines on how welcoming the community is to try to push each other and help each other when we can, time permitting and everything like that. And as long as two people have passion about something, they're very likely to work together, and it's pretty amazing. It just shows you kind of the community we have that's awesome like that.
Yeah, I think you have to be open to it as well. I like working on my own things, and I like the kind of idea of owning the whole thing, but there's some of that stuff where someone's going to come along and go, hey, I've got this idea, or have you thought about doing this? And unless you can kind of just jump on it and run with it in that way, it may never become what it would otherwise become when you're just doing it on your own. So, give it a shot. Don't turn people away just because you say want like the pride of being the only person to have come up with this thing.
Yes, for sure. Totally agree with that. Well, I think we'll go ahead and end it here. But man, Simon, it was so great to meet you. And as we were talking before, you're going to be at Laracon in Texas. So if you're going, be sure to say hello to Simon, say hello to me and everybody else. Look forward to seeing how this native PHP plays out, and just seeing all the cool things you do in the future, because you've got a lot of cool projects already built.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person, Eric. It'll be great.
That sounds awesome. Well, thank you.